Welcome to Kain Company. I'm David Kain, and once again I'm joined with Chip King, the managing partner of CallRevu. Chip's on a passionate mission to fix the phones, and if you notice the hashtag Fix Your Phones, he's always in Twitter actively pursuing different ideas and different strategies to really drive at the core issues within the phone systems in our business. And when I talk about phone systems, I'm talking about the human element, how we handle the phone call. So let's get right to it. Well, welcome to the show, Chip King, or I should say welcome back to the show. I'm particularly excited about having you on today because this is a validation exercise for me, because we have for years been teaching the take your time, don't hustle to the appointment in the early part of the call, but truly try to build a friendship and a relationship with the guest on the phone, and then earn the opportunity to invite them to the dealership. So you all have done studying, and I think you've probably listened to a call or two over your several years in business, but if you could enlighten me and our audience on what you all gathered from that study, we would certainly appreciate that.
Sure will. Well, we were surprised, to tell you the truth. We did a study of millions of calls, and we picked out calls that just resulted in a sales appointment, and we determined the length of time and charted that out, as you saw in the report. And not unusually, we saw that 3.5 minutes that everybody's been saying for years is the right length for the call, as being the first platform, if you will, and we saw success. 3.5 minutes turned out to be right. My thought now is that is a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy, because we trained for so many years, don't give too much information, get to the appointment quick, you're selling the appointment, you're not selling a car, leave the trade out, do what you can do, and that's a 3.5 minute call. Well, to our surprise, starting at 5 minutes, we saw a higher plateau. So we see a significantly higher plateau between 5 and 7.5 minutes, I think it was, where many more appointments were being set in that range. And what we extrapolate from that, especially diving into some of the specific call data, all those millions of calls, is that, to your point, David, that's where we become conversational, and that's where we become transparent. That's where we become helpful, and we begin to ask meaningful questions, and not the questions off a script in front of us, and we begin to relate to the customer in a way they want to be related to. So yes, it still works. 3.5 minutes. That training we did for all those years has an impact, but talking to people the way they want to be talked to, seems to be the way to set an appointment that's meaningful.
Boy, wouldn't it be awesome if you had demographic data that you could overlay and say that it was generational and millennials, here's the right time, and for people who are our age, here's the right time. It's interesting, but I think what I take hope in is more of a naturalized script. And I've trained for years, as have you, and we've been in these call centers in our dealerships and worked with the sales team, and we've basically said, say this, say this, say this, expect this, overcome this objection, go for the close, ask again, ask again, ask again. When you all listen to the calls, are you starting to see the dealers that are more natural in actually letting their teams talk to the customer are doing better, or is it still that rudimentary say this, say this, say this?
Well, we've seen for years the risk of a script is obviously somebody feeling like they're being read to, and that it never works out well. What I often like to think of now is that the best trainer that we've ever had in the industry was our mom, who told us to answer the phone, number one. Remember, 33% of all the calls that go to ask for sales don't even get answered. So answer the phone, be polite, be helpful, and be in a good spirit. That's what really works. We say that enthusiasm overcomes script in a big way. You can say the wrong things a lot if you're enthusiastic about the purchase of a car from your dealership or the setting of a service appointment at your dealership. That enthusiasm seems to mean so much more than the script. Now, yes, there are important points to touch in a call, but they're all the things that are important to the customer. We have to be skilled at asking them the right questions, not, in my opinion, ask questions to get control. Ask questions that are meaningful to the customer, that help them discover the things that they need to know about their purchase. is what I'm thinking.
And I think it makes total sense. I read the book by Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos. It's called Delivering Happiness, and I'm sure you've probably picked it up and probably read it yourself. And one thing that I've gathered from the Zappos team when they talk to customers on the phone is they let them just be human, and they're not scripted. And their success at Zappos kind of speaks for itself. They're always ranked really high in customer satisfaction. And I'm curious why we tend to box our sales teams into scripts. Is it because they don't know how to wrap it up? And I guess probably it goes back, and I'm probably answering my own question, but I'd love to get your context of this. The best salesperson isn't afraid to say the magic words. Would you like to buy the car? And if the best person on the phone could at least get that phrase out, would you like to come in, they'd probably see more appointments. So give me your perspective of that.
Well, you know, David, you touched on something very important to me. For so many years, and you may have seen a presentation that Tony Gomez did about salespeople, but for so many years, we have assumed that good salespeople are bad at the telephone. Unrealistically, I mean, we trust them with everything else in our financial statement to manage the customer, and we've assumed that they were bad on telephone. And what we often forget is we may be the one that made them bad on the telephone by constructing their conversation around not delivering a lot of information. So we definitely find that this conversational tone, that this ability to just listen, more often than not, now you make a great point that the person on the phone has to learn how to say, hey, would you like to come in? But when you create an atmosphere of answering questions, don't forget why the customer called. He called because he wants or she wants to come in. Yeah. They're calling to eliminate the people they're not going to visit. So one of the stats that I love to quote is that on average they're going to call 7 dealerships, even if they're a retained customer, to give those dealerships an opportunity as they've discovered vehicles online. And they're going to visit what's Google now say 1.26 or 1.68. I'm going to call it 1. So they have to eliminate 6 of those phone calls, right? But they're calling for an appointment. So my theory is if you just give them what they want, they'll help you set the appointment.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I like this phrase, attraction, not promotion. And if we become more attractive, customers tend to engage with us and provide more information. I know for years in the finance office, it was like going into, say, a Catholic confessional. You would go in and you would just spew all the issues with your credit and your payment history and such, and you would have held all that close to your chest if you were with a salesperson. And I think what we're finding is salespeople who are willing to engage and to truly open up, maybe lose control a little bit, tend to hear more, learn more, become more engaged, and then build that bridge so that then the customer is attracted to them once again.
You know, it's so true. One of the other stats that I think is devastating when I hear it, and it's one of ours from our millions of calls, is that on the connected calls, remember I said 33% aren't getting connected.
I don't even want to talk about that. That just sounds so horrible. God, well, please don't bring us down. 33% of our calls don't even go to the right person. That's just a miserable statistic. But we'll set that to the side right now.
Well, to be clear, that's for people that connected to someone and asked for sales. Now I'll put it to the side.
Okay.
Of the ones that do, though, David, to your earlier point, over half are not asked for or get, or does the call handler receive the customer's contact information. Now, there's a dramatic reason for that. I'm going to create a new acronym for the car business like we need one. EAR, earned, asked, and received.
Yes.
Through this transparent conversation, through this asking important questions, through the conversation that we're having that our mother taught us to have, we are earning the right to get their information. So all we have to do is remember to ask it. Because if we don't, and literally over half of the time we don't have a way to follow up on that customer, and our CRM process is doomed, and we're not serving the customer.
Excellent. So part of your hashtag fix the phones now goes into hashtag EAR, EAR, Earn, ask, and receive?
Earn, ask, and receive. I mean, the earning part is what we have to learn to do. The asking and receiving becomes that natural kind of a skill set that we ask or that we would put in a process. But earning it is that conversational transparency.
Absolutely. How hard is that? Just be a human. Well,
terribly hard, apparently.
It must be. I often like to say, I'd sure like to have been introduced to the trainer of bad techniques and processes, because they must have been the greatest trainer in the world, because everybody's got them.
You're talking to him. I did all those wrong things for 25 years.
Oh, it's terrible.
I was the one that trained him. Don't give him too information. Don't bring up the trade. I don't want any objections. You're here to set an appointment. I made my salespeople bad on the telephone. Yeah. Guilty.
And I think retention goes up when people enjoy their job, and I think there's just a natural gene in us that says, be helpful, be kind, and people will respond. Well, Chip, as always, thanks so much for being on the show today. You gave some great golden nuggets, and I look forward to having you back on again in the future.
Looking forward to it, David. Thanks for having me.
It's always inspiring to talk to an expert, someone who really is passionate about what they're doing to help us improve our skill set on the telephone. And I think that study really makes us feel better about the fact that we can be conversationalists. We can actually be human and get to know our customers and enjoy the dialogue. Give it a try at your store. I think you'll be impressed. I'm David Kain. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll see you next time here on Kain & Company.